All right, so you're probably hearing the word entrepreneurship thrown around all the time. But what does it actually mean to go from just a simple idea to, a full-blown business empire? Well, in this explainer, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, let's start with a bit of a riddle. What could a burger stand, a shoe company, and Gmail possibly have in common? I mean, on a surface, they're totally different, right? But if you dig into their origin stories, you find they all share the exact same DNA. They all started with an entrepreneur.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the 4 main paths that entrepreneurs can take. Then, we'll walk through the actual journey, from spotting that big idea to building the business. And we'll finish up with the one crucial lesson that ties it all together. Let's dive in.
First up, the 4 entrepreneurial paths. Let's explore the different routes a founder can take. Because here's the thing, entrepreneurship is not a one-size-fits-all deal. Think of it like choosing a path up a mountain. Each route has its own map, its own challenges, and of course, its own rewards. So path number 1 is probably the one you're most familiar with, small business entrepreneurship. You know, the local coffee shop, the boutique downtown. These are the businesses that are really the lifeblood of our communities. But, and this is a big but, don't let the name fool you. Small business does not always mean small potential. Case in point, Shake Shack. I mean, this thing started as a single hot dog cart in a park in New York City, and now it's a massive, global, publicly traded company. It just goes to show you that a simple business solving a local need can absolutely explode. Never, ever underestimate a small start. Okay, next up is the one that gets all the media hype, right? The scalable startup. These are the companies that are built from day one with one thing in mind: massive, rapid growth. They're the ones you hear about raising millions in venture capital, using that money like rocket fuel to totally shake up an industry.
Think about Airbnb. They didn't invent hotels or travel, right? That market already existed. Their genius move was to innovate inside that market. They created a platform that took something people already had, a spare room, and turned it into a valuable asset. That simple shift in thinking, plus a ton of venture capital, let them go global and fundamentally change the way we travel.
Now for our third path, which is, well, it's a totally different animal. It's called entrepreneurship. This is basically being an entrepreneur, but inside a big, established company. So instead of starting in a garage, you're starting in a corporate office. The goal is the same: create something new and amazing. But you get to use the company's money, its people, and its brand to make it happen. A perfect example? Gmail. This wasn't some grand plan from the top execs at Google. Nope. It was a side project by one engineer, a guy named Paul Buchheit. He used Google servers and resources to build it, and it ended up becoming one of the most important products in their entire ecosystem. That, right there, is the power of entrepreneurship.
And that brings us to our 4th and final path, social entrepreneurship. This is where making money and making a difference go hand in hand. We're talking about businesses whose whole reason for existing is to tackle a social or environmental issue. The mission isn't just a marketing slogan, it's literally built into the DNA of the company.
You've probably heard of Tom's Shoes, right? They pioneered that one-for-one model. But what's really interesting about their story is how they evolved. They got some criticism that just giving away shoes wasn't the best way to create long-term change. So what did they do? They listened and they adapted. Now they give 1/3 of their profits to grassroots causes. It's a great lesson that even a business with a strong mission has to be ready to innovate how it makes an impact.
Okay, so we've got the 4 paths, but where does the journey even start? It all begins with that aha moment, spotting an opportunity. But how? How do entrepreneurs learn to see possibilities that everyone else just walks right past? Let's look at the Netflix timeline. Their first big idea was simple: get rid of late fees from video stores with DVDs by mail. But they didn't just stop there, did they? They saw streaming was the future, so they pivoted. Then they saw original content was the key to owning their audience, so they pivoted again. The big lesson here is that spotting an opportunity isn't a one-time thing. For the best entrepreneurs, it's a constant process of looking around the corner to see what's coming next.
All right, you've got your brilliant idea. What's next? Well, now you have to actually build it. This is the part where you build the business engine. You create the plan, you get the resources, you bring on the right people. This is where an idea starts to become a reality.
You know, the best plans are rarely go big or go home from day one. Look at Amazon. They didn't just appear as the everything store. Jeff Bezos was super methodical. He said, let's start with just one thing: books. They're easy to ship, easy to categorize. They used books to perfect their system, build the warehouses, and learn the business. And then they started to expand.
That slow, steady, step-by-step approach was crucial to them becoming the giant they are today. In building that engine, it's all about getting the right resources. Take Uber, for example. It wasn't just about having a slick app. Not even close. They needed huge amounts of cash to grow that fast. They needed a whole army of drivers ready to go. And maybe most importantly, they needed a ton of lawyers to fight all the legal battles they faced in every single city they entered. So, you've done it. You built the company, successful. You'd think the hard part is over, right? Well, not exactly. Now you have to steer this massive ship. And let me tell you, the skills it takes to manage a huge company are completely different from the ones it took to start it. It's a whole new ballgame. I mean, just look at what a CEO like Tim Cook at Apple has to deal with. His job isn't just worrying about the next iPhone. He's managing a mind-bogglingly complex global supply chain. He's trying to shift the entire company's focus towards services. And on top of all that, he's dealing with massive issues like data privacy and Apple's environmental footprint. It is an incredible juggling act that goes way, way beyond just making cool products.
And that brings us to the final and honestly the most important lesson of all. There's one single idea that ties together every single story we've talked about today, from that little hot dog cart all the way up to the biggest tech companies in the world. And that idea is...
So let's wrap this all up. What are the key takeaways here? First, remember that entrepreneurship comes in all shapes and sizes. It's not just one thing. Second, it's a process that's always moving, from finding the idea to actually running the company. And innovation isn't optional, it's essential just to survive. Which leads to the big one. The single most important skill for any business leader is the ability to adapt.
From a hot dog cart that becomes a global chain to a tech company that changes the world. Every single one of these journeys is unique. They're all powered by a different vision, and they all face different hurdles. So, the real question I want to leave you with is this. As you start thinking about your own journey, which path are you going to explore?